Judy, you haven't made any provision for rapid transit. Gord Stevens this morning said, challenged you to show how you would actually pay for the $20 million a year it's going to cost the city to complete the second phase of rapid transit. Where is your plan for that?
Yes, I'm absolutely committed to completing the Southwest Transitway. That money is, the City Hall has been grappling with that issue, and it is cost shared by two levels of government, and there is a plan in place approved by City Hall.
There's no plan, though, to finance. That's $20 million a year. That's the city's share repayment plan to repay the debt that the city is going to incur. That's on top of what you've already proposed here. So where does that money come from?
You will know that the money for the transit way is set aside through cost shared arrangements and through the planning process of City Hall.
So that's incorrect. That's incorrect. There's no money set aside to repay the $20 million.
The financing charges is a separate expenditure that the city corporate people have identified as something that they haven't found the money for yet. So the question is, where are you going to find the money for that?
First of all, we have to complete the transitway. City Hall has debated it and voted on it. One of my colleagues, Gord Stevens, was there as a part of that decision and has suddenly decided not to proceed at all with it, despite all of this investment and the clear need in the city of Winnipeg to have the beginnings of a rapid transit strategy. My other colleague, my other opponent, is promising to complete all transit ways and a complete rapid transit system within a short period of time by 2030. Both are irresponsible and unacceptable, and I know that we can, with the work that has been by City Hall, proceed with the transitway while continuing to deal with the infrastructure deficits in terms of potholes, road conditions, back lanes, streets, water mains, and sewers through a more responsible investment plan. So this is the choice. Someone who's going to actually provide for a modest increase so we can continue on with dealing with the infrastructure deficit and protect people's services, or going back to the way it was with infrastructure deficit piling up, services in absolute disarray, and again, big questions about whether or not we can even have the hopes of finishing one transitway in this city.
Do you want a chance to give another answer? Because your first answer to how to finance BRT is that we already have the money, which is clearly incorrect. So again, how are you going to finance the $20 million debt repayment for BRT?
We will, as soon as I am elected as mayor of the city, we will sit down with the senior administrators and with city council to flesh out the plan. Obviously, this has been an awful process with City Hall in disarray without proper leadership. And you're right, there are questions about the financing. But that doesn't mean we stop now dead in our tracks once more and go back to the drawing board. I go to City Hall and I say, we're going to figure this out. We've got to do it. We have some we have federal dollars on the table. We have provincial dollars on the table. I'm not going to kiss that money away again, like we saw with Sam Case. We're not going to let this opportunity go. We're going to get down to business and make it happen. I don't have all the ins and outs of every nickel and dime at City Hall, but I do know that we have to do this. I do know that there's a way, and I do know that I'm the only candidate who's putting some meaningful proposals on the table to deal both with our infrastructure deficit and with our inadequate service delivery system.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're saying you'll figure it out later?
I'm saying I have made a commitment to finish the transitway.
No, I'm not asking you if you're going to finish the transitway, because I already know you said you're going to finish the transitway. I just want to know how you're going to pay for it, and you're saying we'll figure that out later.
No, I'm saying I've already made a commitment to invest in our infrastructure, which is much more than you've gotten from any other candidate. I've made a commitment to invest in service delivery, which is much more than you've gotten from anyone. And part of that whole planning process that includes reviewing the budget we have before us, reviewing the commitments we've made, reviewing the federal provincial dollars, and making it happen. We have got a plan that is in place, and it's up to us to actually make it happen.
But you don't have a plan for the...
I don't want to be the mayor of a city that once more abandons abandons rapid transit and leaves us with this embarrassing legacy of a half-built transitway. I'm not going to tolerate that. But I'm also not going to make extreme promises like my other my opponents, and in particular Brian Bowman, who has suggested we could complete all. Have you asked him where is he going to get the money to complete four transitways when we can't even finish one? I say we've got the ability, the wherewithal, the expertise, and the federal-provincial cooperation to make this happen. We're going to make it happen.
So you're saying you just don't know where the money is going to come from, the $20 million to finance it, because it's not set aside, it's not money that exists. That money has to be found somewhere, either through increasing taxes or cutting expenditures somewhere else. So, I mean, fair. You don't. You're saying you don't know every nickel and dime expenditure of City Hall, and that's fair. Yeah. So are you saying today that you possess the ability to just figure this out later?
No, I possess the ability now to make a commitment to invest in infrastructure, which you know I've done, and to invest.
Is that honest? Is that an honest answer, Judy?
Absolutely an honest answer.
You were criticized 4 years ago for not detailing your financing of your promises, and you're doing the exact same thing now. We're asking you, we're not trying to trick you, we're just saying, how are you going to finance it? First you said there's no money, the money's there, and then you said you've got a plan, but you're not saying what the plan is. So yes, what is the plan?
You've heard my plan for property taxes.
What about BRT? I've already heard that plan. I don't want to hear about
my plan is obviously BRT is a part of that.
How do you finance BRT? How do you finance BRT?
The infrastructure.
How do you finance BRT?
The BRT is part of our infrastructure. I have made a very clear commitment that we will invest in infrastructure to take a big bite out of the deficit. That includes the serious state of our roads. It includes our transit system, and it includes our wastewater treatment plants. All of those are big projects that have been left on the table to only get more serious as time goes on. My commitment as a mayor is to say, no more dragging our feet on this issue. Let's get down to work and stop making Winnipeg such an embarrassing city in one of the most embarrassing situations in Canada. We've got serious problems that have to be addressed. I love this city, and I believe that we can make it even better if we actually have a rapid transit system. That means starting with the completion of the Southwest Transitway, and it means fixing our roads and ensuring we've got good service delivery. If we don't do those basic things, if we don't ensure the foundations of our city are strong, we're not going to get anywhere in terms of attracting new people to Winnipeg or keeping our young people here.
One of the options.
You will know that, in fact, that I have said clearly an investment in infrastructure. That includes the transitway. You will know clearly that I have said we're going to have a reasonable property tax increase, and that money will go to the infrastructure deficit that includes the transitway. You've heard today from me that I am now going to make sure that there's a portion of that money that will go into services. Tom, you may argue that that's the current system. I agree, it is the current system, but my opponents do not agree with that system. They want to freeze taxes, which means we lose about about $12 million a year in terms of revenue, and we lose the federal provincial dollars that are at the table, waiting for us to complete for once our plans, and we lose the ability to provide good services for people in the face of a looming winter that is going to be serious by all accounts, by the Farmer's Almanac, by all kinds of experts. We could be into another extreme winter. I'm saying to the people of Winnipeg, you have a right to expect good services from your city. You have the right to know that when extreme weather conditions hit, we have got an emergency preparedness plan. No more of this ad hocery and these band-aid solutions and the inability to respond to citizens when they call and say, heck, my pipes are frozen, what do I do? And they're told, stay at home, someone will come. They take time off from work, they wait and wait and wait, and no one comes. So they lose their income, they waste their valuable time, and the city isn't willing to respond. We have an obligation as a city to be there in the event of a serious winter, and especially in the event of an emergency. The frozen pipes was an emergency. We did not have an emergency preparedness plan in place.
And you've already said that. You know what? You're going around and around in a circle.
Well, I'm not sure I'm getting through to you.
Your 3% plan for taxes does not provide any money for BRT. This is your election to lose. So you have to tell voters where you're going to find the $20 million. Tell the voters where you're going to find the $20 million.
You know what? First of all, I've given you about 7 or 8 announcements now this campaign, and I've costed everything out very carefully. There is more to
What about
come.
BRT?
Let me say, there is more to come in terms of the infrastructure deficit and planning for a city that works. That includes BRT. You can be darn sure that I'm fully aware of the cost of BRT, but I also know that we have the ability at City Hall with a reprioritization of our priorities, with better planning, and with an actual investment of funds as opposed to a cutback or a freeze. We have at least the ability to confront that issue and make it a reality. Far better. Clearly the choices are stark. I would hope that you can see the clear choices before you. On the one hand, two opponents who do not want to invest in infrastructure, who do not want to protect services, who want the same old way we've done business, versus someone who's prepared to say, look, our problems run deep. We are handed a huge problem. We've got, as you know, I've said this many times, it's up towards an $8 billion infrastructure deficit. We've got an unfinished transitway, and you're right about the cost. We've got wastewater treatment plants that are sitting there with directives to be finished and no plan from the city. It is time we actually get down to business and make those plans. Look, if people want, if people like the era of Sam Cates, if they like the crumbling streets and the sidewalks, and they like the mess we faced in terms of backroom deals, then they're going to love Gord Steens.
One of the options that corporate finance came up with to finance the $20 million for the rapid transit debt is to raise taxes over and above what is already being proposed. Would you support that option?
No, I'm proposing, I said right from the beginning, a property tax increase that's based on the cost of living with population.
So if not that, then what? If it's not that, then what is it?
We will take
How will you pay for it?
You will see as the campaign progresses how we can actually make that investment count, and how we can actually reprioritize to ensure that infrastructure our deficit is addressed. And we will not for 1 minute leave on the table an unfinished transit way. That is embarrassing, unacceptable, and irresponsible.